Kansas State Representative Ford Carr. This is actually question number 2, but I cut the videos up so that they wouldn't get too lengthy. And this question came from, I won't say who asked the questions, but it says, why was the amount $3.5 million and that wasn't enough to get anything done with relation to the chemical spill? So just for clarity, the original amount was not $3.5 million. The original amount was $7 million. The original ask was for $7 million. Now, as we moved forward with the negotiations, it was determined that the local municipalities, meaning the city council and the county commission, would come up with $1 million. And as they provided the $1 million, the governor would then provide a $1 million match. Those funds, you got to pay attention to the way this works, but those funds were going to be available for anything. Whatever needed to be done, those funds were available for that. The remaining funds, which during the original negotiations, the remaining funds were $5 million. Those funds were strictly for testing and any further medical treatment that might take place beyond that. So you had $2 million to do the advertising, whatever kind of networking needed to be done, newspaper ads, TV, whatever it was, that would have come out of the initial, or could have come out of the initial $2 million, which would have been the local municipalities match, as well as the governor's $1 million. Now the question was also asked, well, who said that the local municipalities would match? I had that conversation with both Ryan Beatty and then Councilman Brandon Johnson. At that time, there was no indication that there was an issue providing the $1 million. Had there been an issue, I would simply have negotiated otherwise. But they said they didn't have a problem making the $1 million match, and so we moved forward from there. Now, interestingly enough, this is where it starts to get slightly complicated, because if you watched the earlier video, you heard me say that everything had to go through appropriations. And so then this figure went through appropriation in its $7 million form. Well, in appropriations, they changed the number. And they didn't actually change the number, they just set a part of the number off. If you've noticed that any one of the laws that are enacted, with some exceptions, I guess, but the calendar year for the state legislature begins July 1. So everything that happens for that year that is that's legal and enacted begins on July 1. So even though we approved the money, the vote took place back in March, or it may have been early April, either way, the funds were not going to be available until July 1. So between the end of March, maybe beginning of April, until July 1, the local municipalities had that much time to put together their $1 million so that we could hit the ground running. And the importance of being able to hit the ground running was because during the appropriations negotiations, the appropriations committee said, yes, we understand that this could take as much as $7 million, but we'll be right back in here again in January. And therefore, let's just take half of that and provide that amount between now and January, and in January, we'll then come back and reappropriate the additional amount. So when you take away the $1 million that the governor was including, the $1 million of local municipality match, That left 1.5 million at that point for the legislature to agree to. And therefore, that's what the legislature agreed to. Now, all encompassing, that is a total of $3.5 million. With the intent, and all legislators that were involved, they know this. You can run this by Senator Faust Guido, you can run this by Casey Hobson, you can run this by anyone else that was engaged in the meetings, and if they weren't there during the negotiations, again, I led those. They were certainly made aware of what took place during the negotiations. In January, we were to go back and get the remaining $3.5 million. And that's where the problem began. Because in order to ask for another $3.5 million, we had to spend, at least some of the $3.5 million that we had. And if any of you can remember correctly at that time, by the time we got around to January, and I won't go through all of the different, details that took place, but by the time we got around to January, and we're going back into session, none of the monies had been spent. One of the main reasons none of the monies had been spent is because the local municipalities, and I mean the Sedgwick County County Commission and the city, which would be the city council, had not come up with their $1 million match. Now, fortunately, very late in the game, both parties, and when I say both parties, I mean both local municipalities, came up with, I believe it was a combined $250,000, and the good people at the Kansas Health Foundation put up the remainder of the funds. But that put us in quite a quandary at the state level, because now we are going back into session. We told the legislature that we needed $7 million to adequately fund this project, and we'd gone the previous 6 months, plus, and hadn't spent a nickel. So it would be, an impracticality to ask for more money when you hadn't spent the money that you had. So that became an issue. So when you ask the question why it was only 3.5 million, it actually was 7 million. But we failed to meet the obligations of the first 3.5, so therefore we never got an opportunity to take advantage of the other 3.5 million. And I'm going to make another video that's going to give you a little more detail on how critical that fact is today. Thank you.